Let's look at 10 practical ways you can communicate more effectively at work. Because one of the biggest obstacles to your next promotion isn't your level of experience or your technical skills or how well you network with people. What if it's something more fundamental? It's something that you do dozens of times a day without even thinking about it. Yes, I'm talking about how you communicate. I'm Joanna, I'm a communications consultant. I've worked in this field for more than 15 years, and I've observed something striking over the years. The people who advance their careers the fastest, who get the promotions, who accelerate their career the way they want to, aren't necessarily the people with the best technical skills. They are the ones who can communicate the most effectively. In this video, I'm going to give you 10 really simple but really powerful communication techniques that you can use right now to communicate more effectively in work. No messing around, straight to number one, tailor your message to your audience. This is really important. When you are communicating, you need to understand that different audiences need different information. They might need a different tone of voice. They might need different language. What resonates with one person might totally miss the mark with somebody else. So to be a really effective communicator in work, you need to tailor and customize your message for the person who's going to receive that message. Taking into consideration, what do you know about them? What do they care about? How do they work? What kind of information are they likely to understand? For example, if I'm thinking about communicating to an engineer, I'm thinking, they're probably going to respond really well to hard data, maybe some graphs and charts. But if I'm trying to communicate the same idea to someone maybe in marketing, I might think, maybe they would prefer a more storytelling approach with some qualitative insights and maybe some quotes. And I'm going to think carefully about the type of language that I'm going to use with different audiences. Maybe with the engineer, I'm going to lean into that specific industry language that they use and all the acronyms that they're very familiar with, but I'm going to take that out when I'm communicating with the person in marketing, because they're not going to understand it. It's like a different language. So that's tip number one. Think about who you are communicating with and tailor your communication based on what they will understand and what they care about. Tip number two, be direct and concise. In a world drowning in information, nobody wants a waffler. Being concise is absolutely crucial to communicate effectively. And yet, this skill seems to be increasingly rare and therefore increasingly valuable. So if you can nail this, you will do great in work. You need to be able to get your point across quickly and in a way that people will understand easily. A really good tip you can use to apply this is actually from a military communication principle called BLUF, bottom line up front. So the next time you are going to communicate something, you want to think about, what's the bottom line? What is the most important thing that I want the person to know as a result of this communication? Usually people bury this right at the end of an email. So you can write out your email, find out what's that most important thing and pull it right up to the top. Put that up the front. You can then go back and chop your email in half. This will really help you to be more concise and more direct and get straight to the point. The best communicators that I know understand that people have a finite amount of energy and attention, and they respect that by being very direct and very concise in how they communicate. Tip number three, practice active listening. Now, it probably sounds a bit silly to tell you to listen to people in work. It sounds basic, and we all do that. You would be amazed at how many people do not listen properly. You've probably seen it in a conversation you've been in, that someone isn't really listening to you. What they're doing is they're just waiting for their turn to speak. So they are listening to reply rather than listening to understand. But true active listening is an amazing way to gain influence and build your reputation in an organization. People will notice when you're really listening and they will really respect it. And I feel like sometimes when we talk about communication, we think it's all about us speaking, but actually a really core part of communication is being able to be quiet and listen to other people and really understand them. Now, there are simple things that you can do to help yourself become a better listener over time. For example, eliminate any distractions. If you're on a video call in work, like turn your phone upside down so that's not distracting you, close down your email, get rid of distractions that are going to pull you away from that person, from that conversation. And a great thing you can do is you can demonstrate that you have been listening and you have heard and understood the person by actively checking for understanding. So you might say things like, let me just check I understand, and then you're going to summarize what they said. The wonderful thing about active listening is it costs absolutely nothing. You can do it for free anytime you want, and it is something that I see a lot of people are very bad at. So if you can nail this skill, you will be ahead of a lot of other people in your organization. Tip 4, choose the right communication channel. We've all heard that phrase, this meeting could have been an email. That is a signal that this is the wrong communication channel for what is being said. When I say a communication channel, it's literally the delivery mechanism. How is the information moving from A to B? So communication channels are things like meetings, emails, town hall meetings, videos, anything like that. In my experience, lazy communicators always default to live meetings or lengthy emails because it's easier for them. But effective communicators will think, actually, what's the right channel for me to use? And what's the easiest channel for the audience, not for me? Meetings aren't always the answer. I'm someone that really does not like to sit in pointless meetings. I personally really appreciate when something can instead be a short email, or maybe it can be a collaborative Google Doc that we can work on together. So just think about being a little bit intentional about how you communicate. What is the channel? The next time you are about to send a meeting invite to a bunch of people, just pause and ask yourself, is this the right channel? Could this be an email? Could this be a Google Doc? Could this be something else? People will appreciate when you are thoughtful about this. Tip number 5, be curious. Now, this tip is one of my personal favorites. For anyone who wants to be a better communicator is to indulge your curiosity. I believe this so fundamentally that I even named my business after it. My business is called The Curious Route. I always take the curious route to finding a solution. Again, people think that communication is all about just speaking and conveying information, but actually sometimes best communication is simply asking really good questions. People who are average or weak communicators will spend a lot of time making statements. They will tell people things and they just expect them to passively listen. But great communicators go beyond this. They ask powerful questions. They want to understand the problem and they want to solve that problem. Learning to ask better questions in work is seriously an underrated skill and one that can really help to accelerate your career. If you want to start asking more questions in work, a really simple tip is to avoid simple yes or no questions and instead move to open-ended questions. An open-ended question is one that will elicit more information from somebody. So for example, a yes or no question is, do you like working here? Yes or no, and then the person doesn't say anything else. But you could ask that same question in an open-ended way. You could say, how do you feel about working here? Or what do you like about working here? Then they're going to give you loads more information. Simply indulging your curiosity and asking more questions will really improve the quality of conversations that you have at work. It will improve your understanding of the business and what's really happening, and will really help you to become a more effective communicator. Tip number 6, learn the language of the business. I see so many people who really struggle with this or maybe don't put any effort into this at all. Please don't be one of them. This is really important. Every company has its own vocabulary, its own terminology that it uses inside the organization. And the people who are great communicators, who are really top performers at work, spend time learning the language of the business. This is particularly important if you want to be taken seriously by your leaders. You must learn the language that they use, and then you use that in conversations with them, mirror their words. If you have a CEO that is constantly talking about the importance of efficiency, then you also want to be talking about efficiency. So listen carefully to how your leaders speak. What are the phrases, what are the terms that they are using? Are there certain metrics or KPIs they're referring to over and over again? Write them down. You can make your own little glossary and weave these into conversations to show that you understand the business. Now, you don't want to just use these phrases like randomly as jargon. You want to weave these into your conversation strategically and appropriately. Why not start by writing down, say, 10 key phrases that you hear your leaders use all the time, and then think about how you can start incorporating them into your own communication. Tip 7, communicate, don't just disseminate. You need to know the difference between communication and dissemination of information. Maybe you've sent an email, maybe you've sent a message in Slack and you think, oh yes, I've communicated that, and you tick it off the list. But disseminating that information doesn't mean that you have communicated that effectively, because communication means that the audience has received it, they have understood it, and they know how to act on that information. So it's more than just disseminating the information. And we've all seen this happen in our workplace, haven't we? Maybe a leader is getting frustrated because they're like, oh, I told everybody about that. I sent the email, but they've never checked if people have read the email, if they understood the email, if they had any questions about the email. So a really good tip to be a better communicator is to not only disseminate the information, but follow up and just check for understanding. Did people understand the information? Do they know what they need to do? Again, this is something that just so many people skip and they just don't do it. If you can nail this, you will be doing amazing. Tip number 8, have a clear communications objective. Now, sometimes I know I'm a communications consultant. When I talk to people about a communications objective, they get this kind of look of panic on their face, like, I don't know what that means. That sounds very complicated. It's really not. A communications objective is simply, what do I want to achieve in this communication? If you are planning an important presentation or you're sending an important email, just pause and think before you start writing and creating. What am I trying to achieve with this? What do I want the audience to think after they read this email? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? That's the most important one, really. What do I want them to do? What's the point of this? If you can think about clear communications objective for every significant communication that you're about to send, it will help you get really focused and really clear on what information you're including, what you're leaving out. It will also help you measure after the fact if your communication was effective or not, because if your objective was, I want everybody to sign up and get the free flu vaccine in work, and then your measure of success is going to be, well, did they sign up and get the vaccine or not? This will help you become more effective. It will also help to reduce all that irrelevant information that's flying around because you're not sending anything that doesn't have a clear objective. Tip number 9, master non-verbal communication. Research shows over and over again that how you say something often matters more than what you say. Your body language, your facial expressions, your tone of voice, even your energy levels, they can either reinforce your message or completely undermine it. I remember interviewing somebody for a job and they sat there slumped back in their chair with their arms folded, with the most bored look on their face. And it was strange because they seemed to really want their job and their answers were quite good, but their body language conveyed a very different message. So simply being aware of like what your body is doing, what your face is doing, are you fidgeting, do you have your arms crossed, are you leaning forward, leaning backward? All these little things are important communication signals. And you can become more aware of other people's body language too. You can notice shifts in posture or facial expressions or any sort of body language that can signal if somebody is getting bored in a conversation, if someone's feeling defensive, if someone's starting to get annoyed. These awareness of this and practice of this will help you become a better communicator in work. And finally, tip number 10, create a feedback loop. This is related to what we were talking about, listening. The best communicators will constantly be looking for feedback to refine their approach and become better at communicating. They want to understand, was my message clear? Did people really understand? Were people able to take action on what I said? And this is really what separates people who are like good communicators from people who are great, because they're constantly trying to learn and improve, and they understand there's always room for growth. Now here's the thing, people will rarely give you unsolicited feedback on your communication skills. You might have to go and seek it out. You might need to explicitly ask. If you're in a presentation, for example, you're giving a presentation, your colleagues may not tell you that was really confusing or that was really unclear or I didn't understand half of that. But you can go and ask people, particularly people that you trust, that you know will tell you the truth, and this is a great way to learn. You do need to park your ego at the door for this one, especially if people tell you, actually that wasn't great, I didn't understand, but you need to be able to hear that and then think about, well actually how could I improve that the next time? What's one tiny little tweak I could make to improve the next time I communicate based on that feedback? Okay, there you have it, 10 practical ways to become a better communicator in the workplace. And remember, these aren't nice to have soft skills, these are career defining skills that can significantly boost your impact and your influence. You don't need anyone's permission to start putting these tips into practice. You don't need a budget or a special tool. You can start doing these right away. My suggestion is not to feel overwhelmed with 10 tips. Why don't you pick one of them, and within that tip, pick one action that you can try out next week. Tell me what it is in the comments and come back to me and tell me how it went. It's not about being perfect, it's about progress. Every communication that you have with somebody is an opportunity to practice these skills and to get a little bit better. If you found this video useful, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next time.